all of us. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call?
Trustee Blower,
Yes.
trustee Patterson.
Move for the adoption of motion 23-028 to dispense with the reading of the minutes from the January 17th, 2023 special meeting, the January 19th, 2023 regular meeting, and the January 23rd, 2023 special meeting. I need a second.
Second.
Discussion?
No.
Roll call, please.
Trustee Patterson. Yes. Trustee Blower.
Yes. Move for the adoption of motion 23-029 to approve the minutes of the January 17th, 2023 special meeting. Need a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Patterson. Yes. Trustee Blower.
Yes. Move for the adoption of motion 23-030 to approve the minutes of the January 19th, 2023 regular meeting. Need a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Patterson.
Yes.
Trustee Blower.
Jumping the gun. Yes. I'm trying to roll right on through these. I apologize. Move for the adoption of motion 23-031 to approve the minutes of the January 23rd, 2023 special meeting. Need a second.
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Patterson. Yes. Trustee Blower.
Yes.
Okay.
At this time, I present Mr. John Fisher as the newly appointed trustee to fill the vacancy in the office of member of Board of Trustee for Ross Township, created by the resignation of Ellen Yorty for the unexpired term or until a successor is elected as prescribed by law. I will swear in the new trustee. Anybody would like to stand up here with you? Oh, yeah. Yeah. Cheers. All right, good. Raise your right hand. I state your name.
I, John Fisher,
Do solemnly promise
do solemnly promise
and swear that I will support,
and swear that I will support,
obey, and defend
obey, and defend
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the United States,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
the Constitution of the State of Ohio,
and the ordinances of Ross Township,
and the ordinances of Ross Township,
and that I will faithfully,
and that I will faithfully,
honestly,
honestly,
and impartially perform
and impartially perform
and discharge the duties of
and discharge the duties of
Ross Township trustee,
Ross Township trustee,
to which I have been elected,
to which I have been elected,
or according to the best of my ability
or according to the best of my ability
and understanding, so help me God.
and understanding, so help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
We'll do pictures of all three trustees, and then we'll
Yeah.
do a picture with you and your family. Jennifer?
I know, right? I'm on time for this part.
Stand with you. An award winner. Perfect.
Hey, cheese.
Very nice. She's the official photographer.
Good.
Okay, family. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yep, that's.
I'll just say.
Well, it was problematic.
Yeah, that's it.
Safe with you.
You're fine.
Thank you, Chief. You're so sweet. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I was always a little worried about that.
Real now.
He asked for it, right?
Yeah.
Okay, carrying on. Fiscal officer's report.
All righty. Thank you very much. Coming around for you to review, and I will clarify on these certifications of purchase orders issued and checks written. Because these all took place prior to trustee Fisher, his name is not on here, nor is there a place to sign for this meeting and this meeting alone. So beginning next meeting, that will all be rectified. Also in front of you for review is a receipt report of receipts that we have received since the last meeting. There's also the management reports for the date ending January 31st of January of 23, sorry. There's a revenue summary report and a fund summary report. Not a lot going on the revenue side right now. It'll get a little more exciting once the real estate taxes kick in. But so far it's been a little light. I will note that we did receive, the Village of Millville has sent in their fire payment for the year in its entirety. So we have received that. And then also just an item to note that the city of Oxford, which is the OVI task force reimbursements came in, I believe for the end of, it might be the end of December, but for January, or it's probably the end of December now they think about it. Moving on, there's also an appropriation status report as of the end of January. And then, as promised, is a open purchase order summary. These are purchase orders from 2022 that remain open. The ones that are in the gray are all healthcare related, and we have to carry those open until the end of March because employees and their dependents have an opportunity to submit for reimbursement up through the first quarter of the year for anything that they may have, any costs they may have incurred in 22, they have an opportunity for reimbursement in the first quarter of 23. So that 61,000 is just hanging open. We may spend it. The odds are we probably will not. Moving on, those are the handful of purchase orders that are open. Chief Miller gave me one for batteries.
Yes.
And he cleared that. And then Butler County, the sheriff's dispatch bill for December finally came in. So that got cleared. So this is all that's left. It does look like a large amount, but unfortunately, it's the pneumatic unit that's hanging open out there. So hopefully we'll get that in this calendar year and we can resolve that. So that's the status of the purchase orders. If you have any questions about that. And then I have a brief report. We are finally set up with First Financial to do positive pay on all paper checks or warrants. That seems to be moving pretty smoothly. It's got a little more to it than I would like as far as I have to manipulate an export file. But it's really not that big of a deal. I just wish I didn't have to touch it as much because that just opens it up for air. But it's moving pretty smoothly. So that's an additional fee of $30 a month, but I think it's going to give me peace of mind until I feel that the situation with our wash check is in our rearview mirror and it's not going to haunt us. So I think it might just be a price to pay. And then Auditor Yost, former Auditor Yost, was a big proponent of positive pay. So if he thinks it's a good thing, Trustee Patterson would probably agree. It's a good thing. So with that, if there's any questions about anything I've just rattled on about, I'd be happy to answer.
I have none.
Okay, thank you.
Moving on to department reports, Administrator Laura Kyle.
Good evening. Tonight, I'd like to welcome Trustee Fisher to the board, and I'm looking forward to supporting you as a member of the board.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All that administration has this evening is a nuisances update. It's included in your packet. I did speak with the tenant with the junk motor vehicle on Cincinnati Brookville Road, and he has indicated that it should be gone by next week. So unless you have questions about the other two, that's all that administration has.
Thank you, Laura. Anything else for the administrator? Fire Department Chief Miller.
Thank you, Keith. For the month of January, the department responded to 97 incidents. 76 of those were EMS related, 64 in Ross Township, 10 in the Village of Millville, 2 mutual aids, 1 in the Hanover Township, 1 in the Morgan. We had 21 fire incidents, 18 in Ross, 1 in Millville, structure fire in the St. Clair Township, and also a structure fire in the city of Hamilton. We received mutual aid once from Morgan Township. They assisted us on an EMS call when both of our medic units were out. I've prepared, Captain Morse has prepared the 22, our annual report for your reading pleasure. If you guys have any questions or comments about them, feel free to give me a call. For the audience, I have 3 extras if anybody wants any. Lastly, Ryan Lucas, he's a part-time firefighter EMT. He's also an Air Force reservist. He was deployed overseas back in July, and he got home 2 days ago, thank God. And hopefully we'll have him back on shift in sometime in March, but it's a long, glad to have him back. That's all I have for you.
Thanks, Chief. Road Department. Mr. Bulock.
Yeah, thank you, Keith. Just a couple things. We been busy with some snow events, as you guys know, and I just want to thank Keith for filling in for Adam a couple times. His baby was in the hospital, and I appreciate the help. And the other thing, our paving contract went out to bid last week, came back day before yesterday. Good news, it came back $60,000 below the estimate, but the reality is to pave 6 miles of road, it's $1,137,000 still. So, thanks to you guys and commissioners a little bit. The American Rescue Plan Fund will cover most of that. So I think the township residents are benefiting from that greatly. So, and I appreciate that. That's all I have.
Paul, that price isn't coming back down. That's bid out and locked in.
That's the bid.
Like as we kind of just ride some waves, it's okay.
Not to my knowledge, it shouldn't move. They went out early trying to get a better.
Yeah, trying to get
ones, while the companies are hungry for work. So.
Paul, is it automatic that they add grindings to each batch of blacktop that comes out?
Adding it into the new mix?
Yeah. Does it happen all the time, or do they give you a percentage off if you allow that to go in?
I've
A fresh batch?
not had that opportunity, so I don't know the answer.
I just asked because on the way home today, they're grinding that mountain way up on Mosteller Road.
Yeah.
I just
Yeah.
curious if they gave you a break because they're.
I can find that out, but I don't know that answer.
Is there an expiration date on the bid?
What do you mean for the?
Until the bid is only good through a certain amount of time before it?
It's good through the end of their contract. So they'll have a contract to have it done by a certain date. And they usually start on the west side of the county. So we're usually in the first group. So it's never been an issue before.
Thanks, Paul. Moving on to the police department, Chief Roberts.
Congratulations once again there, Trustee Fisher.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with. Calls for service for January was 611. We had 8 auto accidents, wrote 61 citations, 30 warnings, had 17 adult arrests, 4 juvenile arrests, had 6 drug activity and drug arrests also for the month, had 4 mentally or emotionally disturbed person calls, arrested 7 people on outstanding warrants, 3 shots fired, 85 business checks, 162 vacation checks, and did 46 incident reports for the month. Also, we received the gold standard for the 3rd year in a row from Lexipol for our policies and procedures and the trainings that we have done. So I think that's pretty impressive that they recognize us for the training that we do for our police department. Also applied for the BWC grant, which will provide funding for our vests. I think we're going to be buying 5 vests, and they pay 75% for each vest. So it's about $200 to cost us for a vest. Should hear something relatively soon on that, but we've gotten it at least the last 3 years since I've been here. So I don't see why we would get denied. I think Officer Tim Baird did an outstanding job on a traffic stop this past couple weeks. He recovered 538 grams of marijuana on a traffic stop. So that's a pretty good drug arrest for us. And just 2 things that weren't on the agenda. One is we should be picking up the EMA truck tomorrow. I think everything has been cleared and they've gotten everything that they needed out of it. So we should be able to pick it up tomorrow. And lastly, we got a late notice. We met with the DEA task force up in Columbus, referenced the pharmacies. B&Es that have been going on. Apparently that this is a nationwide thing that has been going on. So we have made the radar for the DEA task force, and they're going to help us out, and, or we're going to be working with them, I guess, in conjunction to see what we can do about, closing this case. They believe that it's a group out of Houston. They arrested a person in Missouri that's possibly involved in all these. So this is actually a pretty big deal, and we're involved in it. So we'll see how it plays out. I'll keep everybody informed as we go. That's all I have.
Thanks, Chief. Anybody else have anything for the chief?
Great job on that Lex poll recognition.
Thank you.
Impressive.
All right, moving on to public participation. I have Jerry Hilbert up first.
I'm Jerry Hilbert, 3663 Eli Road, Ross Township. I have a question. We have one paper, January 29th, talking about taxes. And then I have another paper talking about the school levy. I'll give it to you. I think all of us in this room, whether we sit on that side of the desk or this side, is going to be affected by both of them. We need to be looking at it, how the people of Ross is going to afford it. School, maybe a 20. They want to bring ours, I think ours taxes was like 13, like Westchester, they'll go on to 20%. And the school board, we can't say we don't have anything to say about it. Every one of us is paying that. They want a 9.4 5-year emergency tax. How are we going to afford that? So I think trustees, administrator, Julie, and the people, we need to be looking at it, say how we feel. Because we're the people who are paying the bill. So I had to say.
Thank you.
Would you mind if I?
Go ahead.
And pertaining to the county issue with the auditor having to readjust taxes, I looked at mine. You can go to the auditor's office and look at your current year taxes, and at the bottom, it'll say mandatory adjustment. I know ours went down like $10. So the Ross resident, I can't speak for everyone. I would recommend you go to the Butler County Auditor's website and do a property record search on your property. You can do it by owner name, or you can do it by address. The profile page will come up, and on the left, it'll say tax year 22. Keep in mind, they're a year behind. So 22 taxes are paid in 23. When you look it up, you'll see that they've recalculated 20 tax year, 21 tax year, and then your new 22. And at the bottom of the page, if you keep scrolling, it'll tell you the net. If you lived in Westchester, there are 4 areas, and they're not all on the top of my head. But if you look in properties in there, you'll see that they had a fairly sizable increase. But if you look up your own property, you may be pleasantly surprised that overall, the overall net may have been a small reduction. And that's because there are countywide levies. They had to recalculate them all because those value increases in those 4 districts caused the levy amounts to have to come down. So folks who were in areas who weren't directly impacted might see a modest adjustment. So it may not be the scare tactic that the news cycle was reporting. Now, if you live in one of those 4 affected areas, it could be very, very different. So don't quote me that your taxes have gone down, but go look at your own property. And if you have questions, I'm here Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. Call me. I can walk you through how to look up your property. So that's all I wanted to say about that.
That's a good point.
Thank you. We have Mr. Stewart up next for public participation.
Hi, my name's Ron Stewart. I've been a Ross resident for 25 years now. I used to live over on Broadway, and I sold that house because all the drug addicts in the neighborhood. I moved over here on Beechwood. Beechwood is like a drag strip. Even the school buses fly up down Beechwood. I mean, it's bad. Cars go by, I sit in my living room window. And I watch cars go by, you're going by so fast, you can't identify what kind of car it is.
In particular time during the day?
All hours of the day. All hours of the day.
Okay. I'll pass that on to officers, see if we can get some extra patrol over there on
You
that.
guys want to put one of them big things in front of my house, in my yard, I really wouldn't care. Several of my neighbors are fed up with it.
Okay.
And, really all I got to say.
I appreciate you letting me know. Thank you.
It would be nice if you guys could get addressed to, because I wouldn't care if y'all parked in my driveway. You guys should write tickets all night long.
Thank you. I'll make sure we get on that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Stewart. Okay, now we'll move on to township business, old business. Verizon Wireless cell site lease modification proposal. Revised offer of $1,000 per month and 7 additional 5-year terms. Currently receiving $1,341.67 per month. Anything from the board?
So John, for context, we had a contract. They came back to us with a reduction
From
from Verizon. And we said,
13
no,
to
that
1,000.
doesn't make any sense
Sure.
to do that, right? Then Lori went back and he came up with something. I believe this is different, right? We're up a little bit per
A little,
We came up a little per month.
instead of 5 additional 5-year renewal terms, we now have offered 7. We already had 5.
We had 5. So we got 2 additional renewals and a little bit more per month, depending on which way you're looking at it. A little less of a reduction or
Yes.
more.
Yes.
Is that a typical term or something like that?
I don't know that there is a typical, we've had this before, right? With we had 5-year renewals.
The original contract was entered into in 2014, and it was for 5 for the first year, and then an optional 5 renewal terms, 5-year renewal terms. The rent escalator remains the same every 5 years. It has increased by 15%. So, yes, the only modification at first was a reduction. Don't know why we would. do that.
We're on their second of 5 renewals from the first of 2014 contract. Am I following that right? So like we ran 2014 to 2019 and then they renewed. And so now we're in our second renewal of 5 renewals. And they'd like to reopen the base, but give us back those 2 renewals on the end.
Yes.
And our discussion last time was how fast you gonna move a cell phone tower, probably.
Yeah,
At the
Okay.
price of steel being what it is,
right.
so.
So where are we at? Are we gonna send them another letter and saying that $1,000 a month and dropping it $341.67 doesn't work for the board? Or what are we doing? I haven't heard anything property wise where rent is decreasing, only increasing. As I've heard it on the radio and read it in the papers for rent on homes and apartments and all that. I understand it's just a property rental for their tower, but I know $1,000 a month doesn't work for me, dropping us down. So when do they want this contract signed, or are we gonna send a second letter to them stating that doesn't work for us, or how does the board feel?
What's the provision on the contract if they leave? They have to take down the tower? Did we make them take down the tower?
I don't know the answer to that. I can check.
It would be interesting to know how much notice they have to give us to leave. And if they have to return the site to as is status and take down their tower.
They originally, and Raymond, please chime in, because you may have some knowledge on this. They originally wanted to put that tower over on Mr. Johnson's hill, correct? To get the cell over the hills on 27. and he didn't want it. So then they approached the township. So I don't really think they're in a position to pull that tower out for that section.
If they put anything on the tower that we have now, then that's an extra money per month, you know. So like if Horizon or AT&T wanted to put a satellite up there, that would be extra money for the township. But yeah, you're right. They approached Johnny Johnson, you know, and then they spoke with Ruth Gunther down here off of Cross Lane to see if they could go ahead and put more on her tower, and she said no. So that's when they came to us, the trustees at that time. And that's when we sat down and studied. There was a lot of started to talk about it. There was a lot of residents against it because of the radiation that it puts off. And with it being the soccer field right there, but they could never come up with no proof that they did that. Anderson Township has all their parks, there's radio cell towers on all their parks, and that's where they get the money to operate their parks.
Okay.
So I would ask just that we double check that we don't have anybody else on the tower. Because sometimes permitting doesn't always flow, like notification doesn't always flow the way it should. So if there's an extra rider fee, let's make sure we know what we have on that tower. Let's check and see if they have to return, if they have to take down the tower, because that may be something that we are willing to take. I don't know if we'd be willing to take less, but just, we ought to know who's got the responsibility for taking down that tower.
Was there a 10-year lease on that?
There are 5s with 5-year renewals.
It's 5-year with 5 renewals.
And then let's just start with that. They're not in any hurry. They got a year. Does that sound good to you guys?
Yeah.
Is there anything else you want to know
We're
about?
just
the
addressing,
original?
see if they have any other customers on that tower that they're.
Do you have any other customer? Oh, I know what the other one was. Do they have any other customers? Who's got the responsibility if they were to leave to take down the tower? And then how much notice do they have to give us to terminate the contract? Because if we have 5-year renewals and we're having this conversation in renewal number 2, not the fiscal officer, but that's 15 years of money that someone would have to pay us out.
Okay.
Anything else in old business?
No, just thank you to both chiefs. I think SRO and I think maybe one of your guys too were part of career days at the middle school this week.
We weren't.
You weren't for this one? I think, well, I hear a lot about you guys, so I assumed you were part of it too.
We didn't get the,
Well, then, thank you to you guys for taking the time to explain history and what you do and make those connections with students. And
Thank you.
did you sit through that? Do you want to give a presentation?
I do not.
I know she did. That's how I know. So that was all. Just thank you. Appreciate it.
Okay, moving on to new business. 2023 meeting schedule. Usually we set this up with our housekeeping and early in January. And back in December, I approached the fiscal officer and the township administrator to see if they would have any problems with or would create more work for them if we move the township business meeting down to the first Thursday of every month and do away with the second meeting, saving that date for a meeting that if we would need to hold a second meeting in the month, that we could do so, or we could also use that Thursday as a work session. And we wanted to wait until we had the seat filled before we proceeded with this. A few of the points that I thought up for going down to one business meeting a month would be frees up time for everyone. The administrator and the fiscal officer would not have to prepare an agenda, all this lovely paperwork that you see up here that would allow them to have more time in their office. So many times at the second meeting of the month, the department heads have presented their activities for the previous month. and they don't have anything for us. They just get stuck sitting here and enjoying all of our company. By going to one, I feel going to one business meeting a month, it wouldn't create any, of course, it wouldn't create any less business for the township, would actually make the first meeting of the month longer in duration, as we would add more work to that. Let's see what else here I have. And I would leave it up to either the other two trustees, if they have any information that they would like to either move forward with this with a motion at the February 16th meeting, or to disagree with going to one meeting a month.
How much public participation is typically at that second meeting?
Not as much as you see here at the first meeting.
Okay.
So some townships do this. You legally only have to have one meeting per month. So I think, we're not totally stepping outside of the norms. I like the idea of a second meeting that's held for like a work session so to me, that second meeting gets used. It's just not necessarily, I think to Keith's point, the business operations, right? I think you still have that second meeting most months, probably. It's just for talking about projects, talking about committees, talking about, those kinds of things. And so my concern is just staff and department heads, and this will take some time to get used to getting your stuff in and being able to predict, will I need that this month? Will I not need that this month? I think my other concern, not everyone does a public agenda. I think there's maybe some benefit to everybody's got to have their stuff in a week or so before the meeting, and then there's a public agenda and people know what's going to happen at that meeting. And, that's a little different than what we've done in the past too. So I don't know that those two necessarily are related, but I think they're good conversations to have about the timing of things. And if you're going down to one meeting, like what else needs to kind of move in a different direction, and how do those all work together? So I'm not opposed to it if it's still functional for you guys. I would recommend if we do it, it's a trial period. And I would say, like, personally, I would expect that we're probably as trustees back here for that second meeting, because there's any number of things that could really start to get,
Sure.
A deep dive on, more so than what we can accomplish during a meeting with all the reports and everything else. So I'm also not opposed if we want to table it and give John more than 33 minutes into his first meeting before we ask for something like that.
Yeah, I'd like to, the only thing that I think of is just public participation. Are we limiting that by doing this? And should we keep things open as much as we could?
Right.
More transparency is better than less. So, but yeah, I would prefer just to table it and give it some thought.
Yeah, I'm good with
Your
that.
thoughts?
Yes, that's why I brought up that we would revisit this with a motion February 16th.
Let's maybe revisit it with discussion on the 16th, and then we can. Because we wouldn't know what to really put in the motion without having that second discussion. Does that
Okay.
make sense?
We can do so.
That would be motion, discussion on the 16th, and then potentially a motion to change some things on the 2nd
Correct.
of March.
And I did leave out, I did a little research on the old internet, and the only one I couldn't get information on was Lemon Township. It just kept sending me to Wikipedia, which you get no information from that. But it looks to be about 60-40 that split almost down the center for townships in Butler County that meet once a month. Morgan Township was a little different, that they meet their first meeting of the month is at 10 a.m. And then their second meeting is at, of course, all three of them are retired.
Yeah.
And then their second meeting is at a 6 p.m. meeting.
So Turtle Creek Township in Morgan County does the same thing. They had a Monday meeting at 10 a.m. and then their second meeting of the month is at 6 p.m.
Yes.
They used to be both in the evening, and then everybody's work schedules worked out, and they liked that they felt like they could be more available to, kind of to your point, to people who might be working a shift or something like that if there was a 10 a.m. meeting.
All right, anything else from the board for new business? Okay, we will move on to announcements. A public hearing on the proposed updated Ross Township Land Use Plan will be conducted at the beginning of the regular Board of Trustees meeting that is scheduled for Thursday, February 16th, 2023. The public hearing and meeting will be held at Fire Station 102 at 1308 Ross Millville Road at 6 p.m. Who will be presenting that? Since you were both on that committee, that's who worked on it, correct?
Wendy is going to attend.
Okay. All right.
Do we have anyone from Butler County Development and Planning, like Zeb or any of those guys that would like to be a part of it? Just from like, I think of like a technical standpoint, if people have questions on different zoning types, they would be the experts in defining what things are.
Okay, yeah, I'll reach out.
Okay.
Idea.
The Butler County Engineers Annual Township Seminar will be held on Thursday, February 23rd, 2023, Butler County Engineers Office, 1921 Fairgrove Avenue, Hamilton, Ohio. Doors open at 6 p.m. Dinner and seminar will begin at 6:30 p.m. Reservations to Paula Burton at butlercountyengineersoffice.org no later than February 3rd, 2023. Anything from the board?
No.
No.
So were you going to that?
You know, I'm going to be out of town. I wanted to go. but I'm going to be
I
out.
will attend. Or do I, do you, or do I need to email that lady?
I can email her.
I knew
something.
Could you do that?
Yes. So,
I'll attend since you're out of town.
okay. Who else? Is anyone else planning to go?
I will be hanging out in Columbus on a work event. Sorry.
I'll let you know.
Okay.
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 It's a new date to me.
Paul, are you planning to attend?
I have a previous thing I have set up. I'm not gonna be able to attend.
Okay.
Jeff's gonna go? I got somebody to hang with?
I can ask him. I don't know.
Shoot me an email. Maybe me and Adam.
Yeah.
Correspondence. Nothing from the administration. Anything from the board?
No.
No.
Closing action. Move for the adoption of motion 23-032 to pay the bills as presented through the fiscal officer's certification of purchase orders. I need a second.
Second.
Discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Fisher,
Yes.
trustee Patterson,
Yes.
trustee Blower,
Yes. Is there any further business come before the board? Move for the adoption of motion 23-033 to adjourn the meeting. I need a second.
Second.
Roll call, please.
trustee Fisher,
Yes.
trustee Patterson,
Yes.
trustee Blower.
Yes. The next Board of Trustees meeting will be February 16th at 6 p.m. at Ross Township Fire Station 102. Thanks for coming.
Congratulations.